Hey everyone, welcome to Friday Night Live with your hosts Ben and Rob. If you haven't heard, the intelligence whistleblower David Grusch gave a bombshell report that the US government not only has downed UFO crafts in its possession, but it even has recovered alien bodies.
Yeah, the media is in a frenzy, either trying to disprove his testimony or asking the big question, are we alone? We have questions as well. Is humanity on the verge of a massive disclosure of extraterrestrial existence? Is this media hype all controlled opposition in order to take hold of the UFO narrative?
Join us on this Friday Night Live show as we look back into the past of other government and military whistleblowers who have talked about UFOs and alien crashes. This week alone, there was a report of an unusual UFO and giant alien sightings.
Is all this setting the stage for Project Bluebeam, or is this the real deal? And on tonight's show, there's so much more to go over, too, such as our today's Mandela Effect and the top 10 weirder news of the week. And we have our Dig Deep live Q&A only on rise.tv. So we'll see you guys out
On the edge. Well, hey, are you listening to the Friday Night Live podcast or watching us on a video platform? Leave us a 5-star rating and review, and you'll help us reach a lot more people. And and hit the like and subscribe button too if you're watching us anywhere you are, Rumble or anywhere.
So, Rob, you are pretty blurry, just to let you know. So I think it's part of your connection. So I'm sure we'll get some complaints about that. But I'm just letting people know that just where you are, I think your internet is a little bit wonky.
It's weird. I'm plugged directly into the Ethernet, so it should be fine. Not really sure.
All right. Anyway, starting out. So how have you been, Rob? How was your week?
Yeah, good. I mean, all this UFO stuff's really interesting. Everything going on,
It is actually, and I have been following this, and there are some updates. Of course, we went over a little bit of this on Tuesday, and of course, we said once we get a little bit more information, we'll go over it on Friday. So there really is some very interesting aspects to this. Before we start, this is really interesting. Someone in our group shared this video of this guy talking about mason jars, and it just kind of goes in this crazy rabbit hole. Let's just kind of play this first before we get started.
Guys, what is with American companies and their weird side hustles? Like, I was watching the NBA Finals the other day, and they're playing in the Ball Arena. My wife sees it, and she sees the logo, and she's like, is that the mason jar people? What are they doing with stadium naming money? Are they like secretly also defense contractors or something? And then we have a great riff about how all American Army bases are like picnic tables and lawn games and those string fairy lights. Then I Google it. They are absolutely in defense contracting. They were like, hey, we're so good at canned peaches, we should try war. And now they make spy satellites and parts of fighter jets. And you know what they don't make? Fucking jars. They got out of the jar business. And then I went down this crazy rabbit hole. AMF makes bowling alley equipment, and they're like kind of famous for their funny, aggressive animations. They also make nuclear power plants and missile launch systems. Honeywell, home security air conditioning. Yeah, they also made the autopilot system that we use to drop the bomb. When they're not busy conditioning your air, they're making hands-free nuking capabilities. And just a couple years ago, John Deere and the Roomba company joined forces to make an automated robot that patrols around military bases. Look, I get it. I've heard of the military-industrial complex before, but I've never Googled it. I didn't realize no matter what you manufacture in this country, at some point, the government is going to show up and be like, hey, we loved your work on bowling pins. How would you like to kill? Guys, what is with American?
It's crazy. So, yeah, there's a lot more companies that you would be shocked about. I found General Electric is another one. Although they do state on their website that they do not make bombs or nuclear weapons, but everything else in between there they make for the military. So So yeah, it's just it is kind of nuts, when you start looking into some of these companies, and it's like, wow. And a lot, actually, for some of these companies, a lot of the most dollars that they make is from military contracting. So that's
That
probably
makes
why they
sense,
got,
though.
yeah, it does. It's probably why they got out of mason jars. Like, hey, we're not making anything on mason jars. All right, we'll just make weapons for the military or whatever it is that they're doing. Or so, kind of crazy. But anyway, whoa,
Rob's
Rob.
been kicked out.
That happened earlier too. All right, why don't we go into? We'll just start with the Mandela Effect, and then hopefully Rob will come back. He might be having some issues with his Wi-Fi, so we'll just get into this. So you guys, so I kind of yeah, I'm always trying to find new things, and of course, there's like always new Mandela effects, and people are now sending me stuff and everything else. But it's kind of interesting. I found this like massive. Oh, there you. Hey, your quality is way better too.
Yeah,
So.
I think I troubleshooted it. I think I got it.
Perfect. All right. Okay. So this is one of those things where yeah, it's like one of those spelling words. It's like, okay, it could be this, could be that, but Flintstones or Flintstones. Yeah, these are all kind of interesting because Flintstones obviously makes more sense than Flintstones. However, when I see the two T's next to each other, it just doesn't look right to me. I don't know. What do you think, Rob?
There's just no possible way the creators of the Flintstones would have chosen any other word other than flint, because flint was what they used to start fires, and they were
it is
from
true.
the Stone Age.
Yeah, it is true. I just don't necessarily remember the T, but
No,
however,
I think this is a case of people. This one particularly is not a good example, in my opinion. It's like a case of people just entirely saying it like that because it's easier to say and leaving the T silent, and then even spelling it that way, and then not double checking and all of that stuff. And
well, Lindsay, start showing some of these what I found. So these are old newspapers that
it does look better like that. It looks right to me.
But
You know
the
what I
weird
mean?
thing is it's in multiple places.
Right.
And this is when the movie came out in 1994. Now, some of them have Flint stones, some of them have Flynn stones. But once again, here's a
Look,
review.
even there. Well, wait a minute,
Yeah.
though. This is weird because here it says Flintstones in those two places, and over on the right, underneath that photo, it says Flintstones.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. This is weird. This one is weird for me. I mean, I have to be honest. I don't remember the T. It just always looked weird. But I could be wrong about this one. But it is weird how many newspapers that I found have them both, and it'll have both on the same page in some instances, such as that one. But all of these are from 94-ish when the movie first came out. Let's see, what is this one from? I think this is in June. I forget where this is from, but anyway, so there's another one, Flintstones. There is quite a few. There was a few thousand that I found that said the word Flintstones. Once again, here's multiple cases of it. I don't know. It's just weird. There's like so many rabbit holes I can go on in these old newspaper clippings that I've been like looking into. But
It's super weird.
yeah, I mean, some people are saying they think they just misspelled it here. I don't know. It's kind of interesting either way.
Yeah, it's a hard one because Flintstones looks correct to me, but like if you think about this from the perspective of a Stone Age, family, and Flint is a stone, it doesn't make sense that they would call it Flynn.
No, it doesn't.
Flint.
You're right. I mean, it makes more sense. And that's why sometimes we're finding, like, in some cases, the Mandela effect almost makes a little bit more sense. In some cases, it and doesn't.
Hey guys, this one that you're looking at is in the same paper as this one. Spelled
See?
two different ways.
Again, it's just weird. Like, why? And I was like, okay, I can understand it if it's just one instance, but it's a lot of different cases in this regard. Like, there was over 1,000 different newspapers that had
But,
stones.
I remember when this movie came out, and this looks right to me. Like, Flint stones in that movie looks right to me. Like, I remember it saying that. You know what I mean?
Man, looking at these movie showtimes though, like you bring back such old memories of back in the day when you were like, oh, I have to keep the Sunday paper so that I know what's like playing this week.
Dude. That was when newspapers were like the iPhone.
Yeah.
Everybody would like show up with it under their arm, and they'd use that for anything general. I know, this is taking me back to the 80s.
Yeah, it's
makes me want to go play mini golf 90s. And go to a batting cage or something.
Yeah. Anyway, very interesting.
It's not as much the case of the Mandela Effect as it is the state of our educational system.
I don't know. I mean, it depends on who you talk to on this one, you know. And of course, the song would have changed too. It's like Flintstones, instead of Flintstones. But what you remember and what you believe, I guess. So it's always, I don't know. All this stuff is very interesting. Next week, I have something specific on some cool information we found on Ed McMahon, so we can show that next week. So some new videos that came out. So always good stuff. All right. Before we like kind of jump into everything, I thought we could just briefly talk about this smoke out of Canada. Man.
Yeah, I've been dealing with that for a few days.
Are you experiencing it in Ohio?
It's everywhere, dude. It's that entire area. Like, okay, so you can look at the what is it, the pollution score. Mm-hmm. So there's like I can't remember if that's exactly what it's called, but anyway, if it's above 200, you probably shouldn't even be going outside. And it was around 330 in New York for a couple of like days, basically like 2 days. And
this
then
is crazy.
All around there, like going over to like Rhode Island, through Connecticut and Rhode Island, it was at like 200, the score. And then up in New York, it was like, like at the very, I think it was Syracuse for a while was at like, it was in the 300s. And Ohio was in like 100. It was like 100 and 130. So like, these are like China conditions where like, you know, all those people are wearing those masks all the time. Mm-hmm. And you're like, why are these people wearing masks? Because it's like, it burns your throat when you're breathing it in. Yeah, it was bad. And it was bad in New York, but like people were kind of like, they were overreacting, it seemed to me a little bit. You know, like it's a little dramatic. It's like, the apocalypse is here, and blah. It's like, dude, it's gonna take like 2 days. It's gonna be gone. You're gonna forget about it.
Wow. Hopefully in a couple days. But yeah, definitely could bring some respiratory issues. I mean, I know it when we were in Australia, that was like that too. I mean,
I remember that
smoke was going on, and it was just and it was kind of weird actually. I think I'm trying to remember if that was like one of the, it wasn't that bad for some of the places that we were. For most of the cities, it really wasn't that bad. But when we were driving to from Melbourne to Sydney, that was where it was kind of weird. But all those crazy fires out there, I still don't really understand exactly what's causing all of this in Canada and the smoke. I mean, it just says dry and it's just fires, but I don't know if this is like.
There's all kinds of speculation we could do as to how those fires started, Ben.
Yeah.
Especially with everything that's been happening over the last year.
Seriously. It's like choose your adventure kind of thing.
Right.
Any one of these. All right. Yeah. So, all right. Well, why don't we're gonna show one of our awesome trailers right now, and then we get back, we'll start jumping into all of this alien disclosure stuff and see where it's going. So
when disease strikes humanity, when corruption is on the rise, when darkness descends, how can we find the light? Noble governors, honorable caretakers, destructive dictators. Each time a plague hit, the state of the people seemed to determine their fate. What if this were a pattern nobody has ever looked at before? Are people's illnesses tied to their spirits? Does chaos in society reflect chaos in the cosmos? This goes deeper than any history book's look at plagues has ever gone before. Plagued Part 2, Divine Retribution.
That music was really cool. That reminded
It
me
was.
of Interstellar, actually, a little bit.
I've been wondering for a while, like, why we used this image of Toth in a top hat for the Plagued series. Just kidding. Looks like Toth in a top hat.
Actually, wow.
It's weird,
That
right?
mask, the plague mask, it
Yeah.
does. It's like if you painted it blue, it actually, like bright blue, it'd kind of be a little bit more engaging, like not so scary looking.
Yeah, you put Toth in a top hat, and all of a sudden the world breaks out in a plague.
I thought you were going to say in a dance. It's like, well, I guess that, I don't know. Would that be raw, right? So really, the blue.
Well, yeah. So you know what was really interesting about that series was that when you start looking at all of the different times when plagues have hit humankind, you just start finding some really weird parallels in all of them, like what was going on in society, how people were dealing with and handling things, and it's a surprising a lot of people are not looking at that, like how plagues are actually used, because you can't actually, I mean personally, after researching all of that, you can't actually pull that away from having more spiritual beliefs, because it appears to be an arrangement more than anything. It's really interesting, you know?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think that anything that affects our world on a global scale, you know, it's like there's some divine reasoning for it one way or the other.
Yeah.
And you know, it's just because it happened the way it happened, and you know why these things take place, you know, is a question. But I think that, you know, there's ultimately, you know, two forces here, you know, that's kind of fighting. Well, I don't want to say fighting, but you know, we're kind of in the middle of this, and it's like our choice to choose which path that we want to follow, whether the light or the darkness. And you know, and so yeah, I think that, you know, these things, especially back then, I think when they happen, it gives a human beings to chance to really learn how to improve themselves and become better as human beings. But we got the Renaissance era through the plague, so all the amazing paintings and artwork, you know, through that time period, because people were just stuck in their homes, and so they just started painting, and we got some really beautiful stuff.
That's an interesting take on it. I've never heard anyone explain it like that. That's interesting. Maybe that did have an effect on the painting at the time. That's interesting.
I think we talked about it one time at some point. I don't know. Maybe it's like we've had so many conversations and talked about so
I
many
know,
things.
right? It's
Sometimes
impossible
like,
to remember all of them.
Yeah, it really is. It's like, didn't you do a video on this? Like, oh my gosh, yeah, but I have to pull up all the details of, like, you know, everything we went over.
Right.
Pretty, yeah. But anyway, pretty interesting, all of it and everything that's happening now. So,
well, speaking of Renaissance paintings, so how about those UFOs? Actually, there are a lot of UFOs in
Renaissance paintings.
paintings.
Well, isn't there one in Leonardo da Vinci's one of them. No, I don't think it's Mona Lisa. I used to keep thinking it's Mona Lisa. It's not Mona Lisa. It's the other. It's the other one. The guy's like looking up. It's in the background, and there's this like UFO that's kind of like flying. And it's like bright.
It's one of the paintings of Mary or whatever, and there's like a big thing. It's something in the sky, I guess.
Yeah, it's
hard to
it's
know
one
what
of
it is.
those anyway. It's kind of hard to say exactly, but the dude on the ground is looking up at it. I think Lindsay found the painting, so she'll bring it up
here it is.
Yeah, right behind her. Can you zoom in on that? And else it's just like a squished bug.
Yeah, right. It's not an extremely high resolution, so it just looks like a squished bug.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, but anyway, it's fascinating to say the least. So
yeah, it is.
That's there. Wow. Okay, that's a better.
Some type of craft, you know.
It really is. It really is. I mean, it's just fascinating that Leonardo added this in this specific painting, no matter what it is. You know, it's very fascinating. And of course, he had drawings of that area too from a bird's eye view, and that was a big question back then. Like, how was he able to get detailed drawings of? I think it was like London, right? I can't remember exactly. Not London.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't
Italy.
think that's as hard as people think, because he was working with cartographers and stuff. Once, you know, like, think about it, like all the people that were on ships trying to find land, they would draw, they would have ways of measuring how the land would look from above by going around and tracking everything. So I don't think it's that hard if you're talking to the right people, you know.
That's true too, but it's still interesting to say the least, considering that he got that pretty accurately.
Yeah, and I think I honestly think a lot of those painters had their third eyes open and they were looking.
That could be too. That could be too. Like in a total more spiritual aspect of things too. You know, didn't really think about it in that sense. So yeah, you might be.
I'm glad that somehow we really did transition from Renaissance paintings to UFOs. Like, that was probably one of the smoothest unintentional transitions we've done in a long time.
If that's not a pitch for your show, I don't know what is.
Yeah, really.
Really.
Join us on Edge of Wonder as we talk about Renaissance art and UFOs. all in the same paragraph.
That's kind of what's great about this show, though, right? It's like we will literally do that. We'll go back and forth like that.
It is really cool. Well, speaking of UFOs and not Renaissance art, so this intelligence officer, we did kind of talk about it briefly on Tuesday. We're just kind of like, wow, okay, this is kind of breaking news. We'll look into it. So this report officially came off on the debrief, and so Leslie Kean and Ralph, I cannot pronounce that guy's name, Blumen something. Anyway, they wrote this, and actually they had something on Twitter that they announced, because the question was, why did they go through the debrief instead of one of the other media? And they actually went to Washington Post with this information first, which is very fascinating, actually. And Lindsay, there is a tweet here. Here it is. Yeah, that right there. So she's going to pull this up. So this is a tweet from Ralph. They both said the same thing, actually. Leslie and Ralph both tweeted out the same thing. But he wrote, "To be clear, the Washington Post did not pass on our UAP story. Leslie and I took it to the debrief because we were under growing pressure to publish it very quickly. The Post needed more time and we couldn't wait." Okay, Blumenthal is his name. Blumenthal, sorry.
Well, but that's still...
Yeah.
This is still a huge issue. Like, the Post needed more time to do what exactly? Like,
that's number one.
Yeah.
What did they need to do more time with? And two, who... under growing pressure from who?
Yeah. And yes, also very interesting question, but it's like, what in the world this is like the most like to with what Tucker Carlson was saying the other day too. It's like this is the most breaking crazy news anyone's ever heard. and Washington Post is like, yeah, we probably just need to take a few more days to look this over and figure out how to word it.
Yeah, I think that's probably what they were trying to figure out. Honestly, it was
Yeah.
like, okay, how do we present this information? Like, which is which way? And then they were probably researching it as well. And probably it's New York Post, probably calling certain contacts, I'll just say, and say, hey, is this okay if we run the story or not? So that could be the case too. Now, there was a comment I read from just somebody who saw that tweet. And they wrote, John, so basically, I guess they were interviewed by Chrissy Newton of the debrief. And they said that the reason why they said they were pressured was because there was some intimidation towards Dave from quote unquote outside sources. So, what are those outside sources? I don't really know. What kind of intimidations? I don't really know either. But I guess they were kind of like some kind of threats that were ramping up. And so they were like, okay, we don't have time to go with Wall Street or Washington Post. We're just going to quickly, whoever can run with the story will have it run. And the debrief was the one that they got it. Now, Fox News did a follow-up interview with David, which was pretty interesting. So you want to read this, Rob? Oh, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Who's Mike Colangelo again?
I'm not 100% sure, actually. He's
ex-YouTuber and full-time video editor. All I want is full UFO, UAP disclosure. I truly think we're not alone in the universe and we're not alone on Earth. Interesting. Okay, so dear U.S. Congress, the ball is now in your court. Ralph Blumenthal and Leslie Keene point out that Congress has to do an investigation now. David Grusch has already told Congress that they have been lied to when it comes to the reality of a non-human presence on Earth and non-human craft retrieval programs. Leslie Keene also adds that Congress has heard from other people besides David Grusch, and perhaps those individuals have provided even more specific information. Full interview here.
So the other thing about Crush, he signed a affidavit with his statement. So
right,
that is big. That's big. It's really big. It means
that means you're not messing around. Like you're willing to put your word on the line in like it's oath, basically.
Yes, 100%. So that's one of the major things with this. And so who is this guy? Well, this is really interesting. The brief really, this article is massive, but there's some really good information here because it does go into his background. He was a former intelligence official turned whistleblower. He gave Congress and the intelligence community and Inspector General extensive classified information about deeply covert programs that he says possesses retrieved intact and partially intact craft of non-human origin. The information, he says, has been illegally withheld from Congress, which is why Congress doesn't know about it. He filed a complaint alleging that he suffered illegal retaliation for his confidential disclosures. So he's a decorated former combat officer in Afghanistan, is a veteran of the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, NGA. He's also in our own
National Reconnaissance Office.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He served as the
Reconnaissance Office Representation to the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force from 2019 to 2021. Yeah, that's a mouthful.
Mm-hmm. So he's done a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and from late 2021 to July 2022, he was the NGA's co-leader for UAP analysis and his representative to the task force. Yeah, and he served as an intelligence officer for over 14 years. And I think what's interesting is this right here. So he's a veteran of the Air Force. numerous awards and decorations for his participation in covert and clandestine operations to advance American security. Like he was a heavy hitter. People
He was a very
came
heavy
to
hitter.
him.
Yeah. A lot of what we're seeing, like a lot of the people that are coming out are just like, you know, pilots. They're like, oh, I was a pilot, happened to see this UFO, you know, and so it's like, okay, this is one of the first. I mean, there has been former head people that have come out from like various or like, you know, former. They were like, oh, I was like a former person working in X company or X government organization or something like that, but this is one of the first times where somebody of this stature has really came out and is currently, it looks like he's still kind of within these organizations and really talking about this. So I think that is what's kind of different than a lot of what other people's testimonies are, you know, compared to what he's saying. And so this debrief, they interview also a guy, and it's a pseudonym, and they don't really, the only thing I would say is they don't really explain that very well. They kind of explain it later on that Jonathan Gray isn't really his real name, but they don't really get right into it. So they mentioned a guy named Jonathan Gray, and generational officer of the United States intelligence community with a top secret clearance who currently works for the National Air and Space Intelligence Center. So this guy, because he's currently in like doing these things, that's why they gave him a pseudonym, and he's talking about UAPs as well, and he's basically backing up David's story. He said the non-human intelligence phenomenon is real. We are not alone. Retrievals of this kind are not limited to the United States. This is a global phenomenon, and yet a global solution continues to elude us.
It's funny, like while you were talking about that, and you said like, "Oh, we are not alone." All of a sudden, a flash of Mark Zuckerberg came into my mind's eye, and I just started like cracking up.
That's hilarious.
It's it. Come on. Okay, look. I don't know if he's an alien or not, but he has a very like unique disposition.
Well, he says he's not human. Mark Zuckerberg. Yeah. Do you remember that?
No, I remember Elon Musk said that about
no.
Like,
Mark Zuckerberg. He's giving a speech to like these like this class.
Oh yeah, but it was a joke, right?
Well, he's the way he passes it off. It was like I'm not. I was human, or and then he's like, oh wait, I mean I am human, you know, and yeah, this is it.
But it is going to bother you because you're human, and I was human. I am human still.
It is gonna bother you because you're human, and I was human. I am human still.
No, you're right. That was gold. he's like something happened. Now I'm like my body's been taken over. Like what just happened there?
I just love that he's like, and you're human, and I was human, and I'm still human. It's like he realized what he said. He just
so like was that like an elitist mentality of like I'm like above human now, or was this an alien thing? You know,
that's what I mean. A lot of these elites. I mean, that's my understanding. You know, it's like, oh, I'm no longer associated myself with these human beings, like I'm above them now, you know, or I'm pure. It's like the Harry Potter, like pure blood and the mud blood or whatever, you know. I feel like if you're not part of this elite thing and you're like, oh, if you're not pure blood, you're like
right.
It's like, okay, I don't know if that's really what he meant or not, but it definitely sounded like that. It's like you guys are human and I'm not anymore. But it's like, what do you mean anymore? What did you do differently? That's the question.
Right.
Oh, anyway, this is crazy. Well, yeah, so back to all of this, because this is, I mean, it's interesting because, you know, the media is kind of torn on how to report on this. Like some of them are,
you think?
Yeah, because some of them are like, well, according to if aliens and this stuff was real, wouldn't NASA tell us by now? And it's like,
Come on, people. Why? It amazes me how much trust people put in government.
yeah, like Pentagon denies secret UFO retrieval program after whistleblower bombshell. Like, do you really think the Pentagon's going to come out and be like, oh yes, actually we do have this, and by the way, all of those missing billions or maybe trillions of dollars, yeah, that was actually going into this program that we're using with your taxpayers' dollars. So they're not going to say that.
Like, can we have? I just want like even if it's a really short period in the future where all of these people who think they're so smart and have put all of this like trust in these organizations have to come to terms with how unintelligent and duped they've been. You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, seriously. Yeah. I mean, one of the related to the bodies now, the alien bodies, one of the quotes that he said was, well, naturally, when you recover something that's either landed or crashed, sometimes you encounter dead pilots. And
Dead
believe it or not,
pilots.
yeah, as fantastical as it sounds, it's true. And when he's saying dead pilots, he's not talking about
He's
humans.
not talking about humans.
Yeah.
That was the nicest way to put we found aliens, is calling him a pilot.
It is.
It's like
It's such the nicest. It was like such like a okay, I'm just gonna ease my way into this. We just got a comment from Trish who says, if the Pentagon said it, then it must be true.
yeah, okay. And then there was that, what was that, Arrow, AARO or whatever, part of the
the A-tip. Is that what you're talking about?
No. So there was a quote in one of the reports that was from the Pentagon, where the Pentagon was like, hey, we haven't had any interaction with any alien beings. We know nothing about this. That was their official report.
yes,
And I believe
it
the
was.
organization was the AO.
There it is.
AARO. Right. Okay.
Airborne Object Identification and Management Group.
No, all domain anomaly resolution office. They have no knowledge of this, reportedly, according to them. But what this guy fired back with, Grusch, is that, well, yeah, no, they wouldn't have any knowledge of this because this was above their
pay grade.
Yeah, this was above their classification level.
Yeah. This is the thing that drives me crazy. It's like, well, we don't have a document on file, so therefore it doesn't exist. And it's like, well, you don't think that there's some compartmentalization here going on? You know?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's exactly how the military works, dude.
I was thinking it was more of a bruise to the ego. If you say to somebody that's above your pay grade and they think they are at the highest pay grade, they're less likely to acknowledge that maybe they aren't at the top of that pyramid.
No, I think that that's a possibility, but of course there's always higher classification. Like, our president doesn't, I'm talking about theoretically, not this president. I'm saying our president in general doesn't know a lot of stuff. His classifications don't go that high. I know how that could have sounded with this administration, but I'm actually talking in general of a.
I don't know if IQ reaches a high, anyways. Okay. But anyway, that's a different story. But yeah, I know what you mean, because the president is only in office for 8 years, and it's like Independence Day, that movie. They were talking about that too.
Dude, okay, but there's a paragraph in this. So Jonathan Gray. That's literally this guy's name, Jonathan Gray.
Well, no, that's just saying it's a pseudo name, and that's the only thing I have problems with. They don't actually state that until later on in the article.
But Ben,
yeah,
his last name is Gray, as in Gray Alien. Like he purposely did that. Like he
I see
made
what you're
his
saying.
pseudo. Yeah, he made
I
his
see what
pseudonym.
you're saying. Yeah, I kind of was like, I'm like, wait a minute, Jonathan. I'm like, I didn't really 100%.
So like, is this
reason.
like? It would be
That's
okay.
hilarious,
I'm
dude.
just running through different scenarios here. Wouldn't it be really funny if Jonathan Gray was one of the aliens trying to come out to be like, "Hey, we exist, guys."
Oh, that's hilarious. That's hilarious. Well, another thing that Grusch said that he said that the craft recovery operations are ongoing at various levels of activity, and that he knows the specific individuals, current and former, who are involved, and that's really big. Because if he's coming out and saying this, saying like, well, it's not just me saying it, not that I have documents, I can even point out everybody that's been involved in this and what they know and what they don't know. So that's like, to me, that's pretty big, because you're saying that these people could actually collaborate on my story if they decide to come forward as well with information. So anyway, all this is so awesome. But all right, we're going to play one more trailer, and when we get back, we'll start talking about the ex-Israeli space head who came out and talking about aliens too.
Sounds good.
Was quiet about.
I didn't want to go public without evidence because I knew no one would believe me. The entire incident happened about 5 to 6 minutes in total. And my mom shouts really loud, "Oh my God, what is that? What is that?" At no point did the 2 men in black or the Air Force gentleman ask my mother or her friends what did they see. They looked human, but they did weird things. The men in black, they said, "You will report it as a helicopter crash, or we will take your son away." The men in black play the narrative and the media outlets spew it back out. This was 1991, Project Mockingbird in full effect.
All right, so let's say there's a scenario out there where you're watching this show for the first time, and you heard this report came out, and you're on the fence about whether or not there's a cover-up and that aliens actually exist. Go watch that interview.
Yeah, seriously.
Go watch that interview that we just showed that trailer on, and that will give you enough information to make a more informed decision about what you think potentially is actually going on, because there's no way he could have been in that situation if there wasn't more story to this whole thing.
And there's so many stories that are out there.
Like
I mean,
that.
yeah. And I, like we when we think of like one of the first crashes in the United States, we think of Roswell, but in reality, there's even bigger crashes than Roswell that happened. And on top of that, there were so many crashes that happened prior to Roswell. So it's just a lot of those were recovered by military personnel before like the public got wind of it. And what made Roswell so unique was that it happened on someone's farm. So of course the media got a hold of it before the military did. And the military is like, well, they don't know what this is, and weather, and then the next day it's like, oh, weather balloon. And, some of the people that said they came forward were threatened. And that seems to be going, kind of a constant thing here with this.
If I ever become a whistleblower and I have to choose a pseudonym and I'm whistleblowing for UFOs, my pseudonym is going to be Robbie Roswell.
Well, now you can't use it. Everyone's going to know what you are. But
no. That'll be our secret that everyone will know.
Yeah, well, it's also interesting because. The big question is, I think that everyone is asking, can we trust this guy or not? And is this a controlled narrative? And what's going on? Rob and I were kind of talking about this on Tuesday, and I had some more time to think about this because I wanted to see how the media would respond over the next couple of days. And the fact that now I know that Washington Post was first presented with the story, but they were kind of like not wanting to go with it or it took them a long time to go with it, and not jumped on it right away. Like, yes, like, New York Times broke that one story. We want to break this one. This is huge news, and instead it's like they were sitting on it, trying to figure out what they should do with it. And that could be a sign that this guy is kind of like independent, maybe. And who knows? Maybe this is actually like, there are, of course, not every government agency is corrupt. Maybe, this is more of a positive side of, the people trying to get the people within the government agencies trying to get the truth out. That could be another option.
There's a really big elephant in the room here when we start talking about probability of alien beings too, which is that, when I hear Elon Musk talking about it, or people from NASA, and they're like, well, certainly there could be, but we haven't seen anything yet.
Right.
And then how like, I would love to sit down with Elon Musk and ask him if aliens exist, and him respond to me the way that he does, and then have the opportunity to say in a filmed interview, okay, I understand maybe you've never encountered any alien beings, but how do you process the amount of people that have come forward saying that they have experienced something, that they've been abducted? Like, do you really seriously think that all of these people, all of them, are just insane? And you can for sure say that that's the case. Like, it's not like, why is no one talking about the amount of people that have come forward to say something's happened to them and use that as some type of evidence that these things exist? That doesn't make any sense. Like, according to everyone out there, because NASA hasn't come forward, or Elon Musk hasn't said that there are any, James Earl White is crazy. You're just crazy. Like, oh, sorry, you never experienced any of that. Your mom never experienced any of that. That's gaslighting at the highest degree right there.
Right. Right. Well, and the fact that the Pentagon came out and was like, well, we don't know if any such things exist, best, or I don't know what was the exact wording. They were trying to shut down, like, the Pentagon and NASA both are trying to shut this down. And, this really caught wind. This was like a storm that came through. And I'm whatever you feel about Fox News, I have my personal opinions about Fox News, but still they interviewed this guy right on the spot. And, so that's kind of all pretty fascinating. So, yeah, I think it just goes back to what we were saying earlier. And, well, there's other people in the chat too. I was noticing they're saying things like, well, I don't know about his body language. I don't know if I really trust him. And if this is true, if this is actually, by the way, he signed, from everything I'm seeing, he signed an affidavit. So the fact that he's coming out saying this, knowing that if he's going against someone, saying, like, knowing that he's going to have threats and everything else, that could be why he's a little bit.
Why would he come forward and ruin his entire life? Why are people taking that into consideration? That's what I'm saying.
Really,
he's at the highest level of classification, and the dude puts himself out there to release this information, and you're telling me this guy wants fame? The moment he comes forward, immediately everyone thinks he's crazy. He's going to be facing public backlash of the highest degree everywhere he goes. And you're telling me that this guy, I don't know if I believe him?
That's a really interesting point. It really is. Because, the other aspect is he could have been sitting on this for years, like trying to figure out when is the right time to come out, if he should come out.
He was.
Yeah.
Sitting on this for years.
Yeah, because he's talking about what happened also in 2017 with the release of all this stuff with New York Times, released all that stuff with the thing, the footage. And, like, it's just interesting because they released that, and it didn't quite create the hype. It's kind of like, okay, here's some kind of official strange plane, or UFO basically on some plane that the technology looks like it's from like 1984. So which is crazy in itself. So, and it's like, I'm sure, with all the satellites they have, I'm sure they have very detailed image of these things, but it's like, okay, we won't release those images. We'll release the 1964 satellite, whatever radio image from this plane of this thing, and this object. But, yeah, I mean, man, I think we would just be shocked at the level of information that is out there, that is just probably sitting behind some desk, in some Pentagon underground.
Oh, are you
base
kidding?
somewhere,
Of course.
Or just straight up UFOs in general. Yeah.
All right, you guys, we're going to be going into questions at some point pretty soon, but there's a few headlines we really want to get through here. So first is aliens in hiding until mankind is ready, says ex-Israeli spacehead. This is a thing. Okay. New York Post article here. The truth may be out there, but nowhere near as out there as this tale. Space aliens have... Yeah.
Sorry, this is from 2020. So this was
2020.
a couple years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, not that long ago. Space aliens have reached an agreement with the U.S. government to stay mum on the experiments they conduct on Earth, as well as their secret base on Mars, until mankind is ready to accept them, the former head of Israeli space program claimed in a new interview. The aliens have asked not to announce that they are here because humanity is not ready yet, Haim Esht told Israeli paper Yedoith Arhanoth. Wow, that's a crazy name, according to the Jewish press. The Jewish press speculated that Eshed, 87, may have gone to insanity and beyond, goes on to unspool his tangled web, which claims the involvement of President Trump in interplanetary diplomacy. So here's a quote, Trump was on the verge of revealing alien existence, but the aliens in the Galactic Federation are saying, wait, let people calm down first. Eshed, who helmed Israel's space security program from 1981 to 2010, reportedly said they don't want to start mass hysteria. They want to first make us sane and understanding.
This is okay. This isn't some random pilot talking about this. This would be like the former head of NASA saying this stuff.
Yeah.
That was heading NASA for 20 years. So this is why this is so explosive. And then it's just kind of like, oh, well, we'll just ignore what this guy said because that is way out there. Well, and instead it's like, okay, but it's like, why would this guy say this? Who's the head of the Jewish space agency? Like, this is crazy.
That's what I mean. It's like no matter what level of your work is, no matter what your classification is, no matter what your credentials are, as soon as you come forward, no matter who you are, no matter what your work was previously, people are going to say you're crazy. Like the first thing that was said is like, oh, he must have really cracked here, right? Mm-hmm. Like as soon as we started talking about this, it's like, what was that they said?
They said, but nowhere
is gone to insanity and beyond, right? Like, which was, what was the name of the cartoon character, Lindsay?
To infinity and beyond.
Buzz Lightyear, right? Who is he's a space traveler or whatever. So it's like, that's what happens. It doesn't matter who you are. So no matter how many people come out, everyone across the world, think about how many people have already come out saying that they're aliens, saying that they've had an experience. How many official people who have worked in clandestine projects have come out, have tried to tell people, and no one will believe them. The mainstream media will not talk about it. As soon as you start talking about it, you're crazy. Right?
I mean, completely. I mean, I just this is insane too, because somebody at this level, you would think that if he's saying something like this, I mean, I'm not saying that 100% believes this guy, but it's just super crazy that somebody at this status.
I totally believe this guy.
You do, yeah.
Wait, the Israeli guy?
Yeah, the Israeli guy. Yeah.
Okay, so I don't believe everything that he said. I believe the Grusch guy.
Oh, yeah, no, I definitely.
With this guy,
Yeah.
like the part where he starts talking about the Galactic Federation and Trump and stuff, I'm like, I'm not sure. I don't know. Could it have happened? Sure. Anything's possible. I'm open to it, but it's like, I was open to flat Earth too. It just didn't really resonate with me.
And with this,
no offense
'cause-
to anyone who,
Yeah.
actually believes that. I just think that the firmament
Right.
means something very different.
And I think we both agree with that. But yeah, I think with this, there could be other alternative motives, for a reason why this is coming out. That's the other thing. There's so many different factors
Okay.
here. But the fact that this guy is even saying this stuff and he was like the head of the space agency is a pretty big deal.
The problem with this entire thing is something that we touched on Tuesday, which is that most of the time when this stuff comes forward, when people come forward, there are massive amounts of psychological operations behind them. There just are.
Mm-hmm.
There is something afoot usually going on to try to get a certain group of people talking about things, or they're figuring out how they react to certain things. So maybe the only reason that this was allowed to happen was to do some of that. And I'm not saying it's false information. I'm just saying that it could be that there is a deeper reason behind it as well.
Yeah. I mean, that could be, that very could well be that there could be a deeper reason for, that's what I was saying earlier. Maybe there's like an alternative motive of why these things are happening. And
what was the big red flag for me?
What's that?
That guy said the aliens don't want to start mass hysteria. They want to first make us sane and understanding. So my first thought is, what gives aliens the right to want to make us sane and understanding? Who gets to judge what the people of the world are ready for?
Well, I think that there's different aspects to this, and there's different, from everything that we know, there's different groups of different alien races, positive and negative. The negative ones just do what they want to do and are going after their own agendas, whereas the positive ones have to follow more of the cosmic law of the universe. They can't, they're not going to directly come here and interfere with us if that would be going against the laws and, God that's governing everything. It's like, okay, because if they showed up, humanity wouldn't be able to handle it. It's like all the stuff would happen,
I'm sorry, Lindsay, are we watching the same news? Because I don't think people are sane and understanding at all. I think they're insane.
That's the main thing.
I think people are totally crazy right now.
My point was this: they're saying the aliens want to make us sane and understanding.
I know, but those aliens that said that, I don't think those are the weird gray ones. I think he's talking about some like more advanced like cosmic race of aliens, like the Nordics or something, that are actually, who knows what they are or who they're related to or what their marching orders are. I don't know any of that stuff. All I'm saying is I don't disagree with the fact that people are insane and not understanding. So like I could get why an alien race would say that people need to be a little bit more sane and understanding before that information gets released, People are crazy. Like military people can't even come forward and talk about this stuff without being called insane.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's 100% true. And speaking of like UFOs and aliens and everything else, there was actually a major sighting in Las Vegas over the last day or so after all this came out. There was a body cam from a police officer even that...
This is in Vegas, right?
This was in Vegas, yeah. And then right away, there was
I want to see this so bad.
A police report that was filed. So, let's see. I know Not the Bee has it. You can pull up that, Lindsay, in Vegas. There's a video. The video is there actually. So it's a strange light videoed falling from the sky in Las Vegas. Minutes later, a family calls police to report it's more like a 8 to 10 foot tall creatures with big shiny eyes in their backyard. This really actually happened. So here's the this is in Las Vegas. You gonna play it?
It's almost midnight on May 1st when a Las Vegas Metro Police officer's body
There
cam
it is,
catches
that green
this,
light.
something flashing low in the sky.
911 emergency.
Minutes later,
There's like an 8-foot person beside it, and another one's inside, and it has big eyes and looking at us, and it's still there.
someone calls 911 reporting two large figures in their backyard.
No, I'm still nervous right now.
The 8 News Now investigators obtaining another officer's video as he's sent to the Northwest Valley home.
I have butterflies, bro. Everyone saw a shooting star. Then these people say there's aliens in their backyard.
By now, it's more than an hour after that bright light. Officers meeting up with the caller and his family.
What'd you see?
It was like a big creature.
A big creature?
Yeah, like around 10 feet tall.
I'm not going to BS you guys. One of my partners said they saw something fall out of the sky too, so that's why I'm kind of curious. Did you see anything land in your backyard? Or
they see like a big, that's what they say. They see like a big something with light.
What I saw right now, I do believe in it.
Police walk into the backyard to investigate, but Metro blacked out that part of the video because it's considered private property. What's clear? They're taking this call seriously.
Hey, this might sound like a really dumb question, but did you guys see anything fall out of the sky?
Asking others what they saw.
I would normally discount it as nothing. However, seeing as one of my partners said they saw it too, only reason I'm actually investigating it further.
That investigation turning up no concrete answers as of Wednesday. Whatever or whoever fell into that yard, long gone within minutes.
Oh, hey, if those 9-foot beings come back, don't call us, all right? Deal with it yourself. I ain't dealing with that.
So
yeah, this is quite
you can
weird.
pause
Brian
that,
saying-
Lindsay. I have the video. So this is weird because they're blocking parts of it out. And then he said, for some strange reason, they like blacked out the screen, but actually I found the parts that wasn't blacked out. And it's a really kind of very low grade video of how they like drew it and everything else. And it was, shoot, I had it in the doc. But what's weird is that the person who made the video believes that there's some kind of figure with big eyes behind a fence, and you can see his hand, the hand kind of like moving up and down. Now, honestly, looking at it, it's like, I don't know, but what's shocking is that's the part they cut out of that video.
So wait, are we going to be able to watch that?
Yeah. I just gotta, I had it in here and I'm sorry. I'm trying to figure out, I thought I had the right link and then I clicked on it and it was not the right link. So,
that sounds convenient. Are
yeah.
you a part of the psychological operation, Ben?
Meanwhile, there's another CIA agent that actually came out too, saying that he believes that reptilians are aliens and they walk among us, but that's another separate issue. So let me find this one video I'm talking about. That you could read that reptilian one if you want, Rob.
Where is that?
Vegas is down there. Let's see.
I don't see it.
Dude.
Oh, yeah. CIA agent once encountered a reptilian alien and claimed they walk among us. So I'll read that after Ben shows this footage if you've got it up, Ben.
Okay, I got it.
All right.
Lindsay, I'll put it right underneath the Vegas stuff. So this is interesting because this is what's been taken out of that video. You remember we were like, oh, that's blacked out?
Yeah.
You can kind of see
the
something
private
in
property
this video.
Or whatever.
That's what they said, private property. And it's like, what are you talking about, private property? If they saw an alien being, like, you should be filming everything. And if it's their property, they can give you permission to film it. So play this. So what people are saying, to the right of that guy's head, there's some kind of, it looks like some kind of shadow being that's moving. That's one of the things. And that's why they're like running out, because supposedly they see it.
Huh.
And right there, there's something behind the fence. And this guy zoomed in and it looks like there's like hands that kind of like fingers. You can see fingers. And it almost looks like a giant eye and someone standing up, like some, like kneeling down, looking through. Now, some people were like, well, that could have been one of their friends on the other side, right? But I mean, they called 911 and filed a police report. Again, like that's a criminal offense if you file a report and then you're like lying about it, you know? So it, you know, I'm not saying I 100% believe them, but it is weird. And even the police were like, okay, this is weird. One of our officers even saw something going on, right? So they're obviously all looking at something here. And that's the dude that made the call.
Ben, where was this? What city?
This is in Las Vegas.
This is Vegas. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't really think anything about this except for the fact that Metro blocked this whole video out.
Yeah, that's a bit strange because when have they ever not shown footage if it's private property, if it's on a body cam? Think about how many times we've watched body cam footage from a police officer that was on private property all the time, every time.
Exactly.
That's weird.
It's really, really weird. And it just added more. And so there was a guy that kind of circles things, but honestly, that video was kind of a poor quality. This is actually a high quality video. And I would love to kind of like even brighten this up, you know, in the future. So maybe next time I'll like for the next time we go live, I'll look more into this video and see if I can find anything else related to it and see if anyone, but that's behind the fence. You can definitely see something moving there. And someone was like, you can see a bigger eye through the fence. It's like, look, it's like crouched down, looking through, and then it just kind of stands up. And it looks like there's another one in the distance that's kind of like running in the shadows or walks through the shadows in the very background. And then it's like they're making a call saying like, we saw this thing, you know, and they're showing, it looks like they're showing the police like, okay, this is where we saw it. This is what happened. And it's like something is still there. So
all right.
Strange.
We got to talk about this reptilian thing.
Yeah,
we move
let's
on
go to
to
this
the
reptilian
questions.
thing. Yes.
So CIA agent once encountered reptilian alien and claimed they walk among us. So a former top CIA agent has claimed he once came face to face with a reptilian alien. And John Ramirez is confident that they will walk among us. I guess his name is John Ramirez. And do we have a picture of this guy? He made the bold claims during an interview on YouTube channel Into the Wired with Hollywood. There he is.
Well, that's him right there.
Okay. So I've had one negative experience with a being that most people would describe as a reptilian, he explained. It was coming from the living room into my bedroom. I was fighting it, punching it, and I had claw marks the next morning. Ramirez is described online as a retired CIA officer who worked in intelligence as well as being a signal intelligence specialist in the United States Navy. That's very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, again, you know, it's like, I guess one thing, if you're like a CIA officer, it's really hard to check into that, you know, because everyone who works for them is like kind of secret and it's hard to fact check.
Or
that
it could be, you know,
but
slimy and scaly of a different sort.
Yeah, that could be too. So yeah, interesting to say the least anyway, you know, but again, you know, and obviously, I mean, David Grusch, that's his name, right? Yeah, I mean, this is just so big, and I think the fact, you know, he probably could have, honestly, going back to David, he probably could have like revealed so much and said so much, but like you said, you know, he kind of kept it.
He was very responsible about how he did everything at every step of the way. It was like he didn't compromise United States security. He just simply came out, but which also makes it reek a little bit of a psychological operation to some extent, because it's like, how was he able to do this when no one's been able to do that? No one's been able to do anything like this for years unless it was allowed.
Right.
How many people have wanted to come forward and have not been able to come forward?
Yeah. Well, in the 90s, there was a lot of people that came forward
that's my point, though.
That are now dead, you know?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. Anyway, I'd really like to get into some questions here. There's some good ones. What do you think, Ben? Shall we
Yeah.
move on to the Q&A?
Let's move on to the Q&A. Yes.
And what are we doing? Are we playing a trailer before we do that, or are we just going straight into it, Lindsay?
Yep, we're gonna leave all the platforms that we're on.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Wow.
We're gonna leave all the platforms.
If you're watching our show and you like what we're doing and you like the information that we're bringing, please think about supporting our work. We'd really appreciate it. It's only $9.99 a month, and we have a whole subscription platform that will give you up to, over 500 shows of all kinds of awesome stuff. We get into all kinds of cool things, and we're not stopping there. We're going to be upping our game with your support over the next couple of years as well. And we could really use your help with all of that. So if you like what we're doing, please subscribe and help us out. And here is a trailer. And when we get back, we're going to be doing a live Q&A, and then we're going to be getting more into weirder news of the week, which is the funniest segment we probably have.
Yeah. So we'll see you guys over on Rise TV. Thanks.
I assure you, vampires are just in the movies. I would swear it on my soul, if I had one. What truths are lurking in our legends? They couldn't possibly be based on a real-life monster, could they? Vlad the Impaler was not just known for his war tactics. Some say that he was also the world's first vampire, Dracula. But is it all just a batty tale? Or are the movies talking about something real? Find out in part 1 of Edge of Wonder's Halloween series, Vlad the Impaler and Dracula.